Hello everyone, and thank you for checking into this tutorial about how to get started with retro gaming emulators on your mobile devices. The first step in the process is to decide which gaming system you want to start with. Then you pick your emulator. For example, if Nintendo is your deal, then Delta Emulator for most retro, NES, SNES, N64, and Game Boy Color Game Boy Advance, and NDS, DS, and DSi systems. Nintendo Gaming and Manic Emulator for your 3DS games. I won't be showing you how to actually download the games, but rather show you how to load them in, then show you where you can enter your cheat codes for said gaming system you want to play on. Keep in mind, not all emulators allow free users to add cheat codes, so this will strictly be done in Delta Emulator. For example, Gamma Emulator for PlayStation 1. You will need to upgrade to their Pro offering, so you can enter cheat codes. I will also show you how to connect a PlayStation 4 DualShock controller to your phone, even though I will be showing you on an iPhone. Putting the controller in discovery mode and connecting via Bluetooth is a standard procedure for all Bluetooth-enabled devices. Now that you have decided which games you want to play and which emulator you will need, go ahead and get the emulator from your respective app store. Apple App Store, Google Play, or Amazon App Store for Android. Since downloading the actual games are a moral gray leaning on illegal, you can find many sites that hosts ROMs and other tutorials out there if you get stuck. For the purposes of this tutorial, I am going to assume you already picked your emulator and have a few ROMs downloaded, but one just won't work because it is in 7Z compression. That's where unzip comes into play. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, that is your interface for the app. You simply hit the yellow plus button, navigate to where your device downloads files, load up the 7Z, then tap the compressed version. If you get the button to extract, you are good for this part. If you get an error message, that means something in the file you got is corrupt. And that can happen. Just return to where you got the ROM, or look for it from another host/site. Now that we have our emulator, Delta Emulator is our example here, you are ready to add your games to the emulator. After opening the emulator, you will see the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner of the app screen. This gives you a drop-down with only two options, iTunes and Files. Go ahead and touch Files. This will take you to an in-app browser. Go ahead and navigate to the folder where all your downloads are stored. Pro tip, you can select multiple titles and they will all add at the same time. Once the games are loaded, you are ready to play. But wait, you don't like the on-screen controller. I did not like the on-screen controller either. I need to feel buttons. I had an extra DualShock controller, so I put it in discovery mode and paired it with my smartphone. I took a bit of a deeper guide as to which was better, DualShock or DualSense. DualSense is for PS5 consoles for those who aren't sure. Here is how to pair your DualShock controller. To put a PS4 controller into discovery or Bluetooth pairing mode, hold down the share button and the PlayStation button simultaneously until the light bar on the back of the controller starts to flash. Once the light is blinking, the controller is discoverable, and you can then search for it in the Bluetooth settings of your device, phone, PC, or console, and select Wireless Controller or DualShock 4 to pair. Pro tip 2, you can find refurbished or used. Yes, imagine I put air quotes up when I said used, from Amazon or your local video game store or shop. This helps keep the cost minimal and makes you confident you picked a controller with the least resistance against your smartphone. This would be for iPhone users, Android users, sorry. But you will have to test this on your own and find a controller that will work for you. Now, you have your games loaded, a controller paired to the device, and are ready to play. But you're worried about how to save your games so you can give your eyes a rest. While your controller is paired to your phone, you will want to go to the Delta Emulator settings by hitting the cog in the upper left corner of the screen. Here you can tap on Player 1 with the controller attached, and then hit Customize. When there, just tap the button you want to change and click the button. For example, iOS 26 changed the mapping to the DualShock home button to opening the New Games app. I went back into Delta and assigned a button I know each retro console just didn't have access to. For example, For NES, my home button is R2, but for NDS, I assigned home to L3, which is just pressing down on the left analog stick on my phone. You can go through and remap the controllers you're liking by skipping the player section and go straight to your console list, just under the player section, and set the home button for each console you have games for. So, to save while in your game, simply hit your home button, then tap Save State. Loading the save state later is just as simple. Do the same steps as saving, only tap Load State, then find the one you played last. Pro tip 3. If you are about to enter a particularly difficult section of any game, I would highly recommend saving a separate state. For example, I started a Zelda 1 game and thought I got all the Triforce pieces, but still cannot find the last piece, so I started over. Just a few points to wrap up here. While you're in your game and have the Delta Pause menu up, the icon that looks like the icon for Facebook Messenger. When there, hit the plus in the upper right corner. You will notice you will have options for which type of code you are entering: Pro Action Replay Game, Genie 6 Game Genie 8, for retro games that use Game Genie codes. Count how many characters your code is using so you know whether to use 6 or 8 as your code entry option. Just remember that this is all for fun and personal use. I will be following up at some point with a similar, albeit shorter, tutorial on how to use Gamma Emulator for PlayStation 1 games, and follow that up with a tutorial on the PlayStation Portable emulator as well. Another emulator that mostly works like Delta Emulator would be Manic Emulator, which I use for 3DS games. I will then try to get to Providence Emulator, which I use for Sega games.